W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Rams agreeing to terms of former Bills All-Pro corner Tre'Davious White.
I'm over at Epcot right now. I'm in line for test track.
Mike Danger.
Because everything has to sound like this, and I don't know that you really talk like this when you're actually having a conversation with somebody.
Gene Battaglia.
Keep something in mind. We don't know the true character about anyone.
I don't think Josh Allen's winning the Super Bowl, do you? I don't think he's winning one.
The baseball season truly gets going tomorrow with this huge gambling cloud hanging over Shohei Ohtani.
And Shohei has been ushered out of the clubhouse in handcuffs.
The Arizona Diamondbacks and lefty starter Jordan Montgomery
One John Calipari.
Ice Cube confirmed that his Big Three basketball circuit has offered Caitlin Clark $5 million to play for them.
We are getting set for a little Sabres-Senators tonight.
Sens?
Jack Quinn is looks like he's ready to go, so I would expect to see him in the lineup.
Amerks Crunch, starting at 7 tonight.
You dislike each other at such a high level. Shrimp cocktail.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Glad you're listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free to download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And we've got our video stream up. You can watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
A little bit of blow to begin the show here, Danger, because I'm looking ahead to tomorrow thinking, oh my gosh, this might be one of the best sports days ever, at least for me personally, but I know a lot of people share my sentiment where you have the Sweet 16 tomorrow night. You have RIT in the late afternoon window. And oh, by the way, you have opening day in baseball. And my gosh, I could go from Mets Brewers to RIT to whoever's playing it. So the Met game rained out. Philly game rained out.
When you get excited for an amazing day of sports, only to find out that Major League Baseball opening day has been rained out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Well, the good news for RIT is they're playing that indoors in Sioux Falls. I'm pretty sure it's an indoor arena, so the weather, the crap weather that they have in the Midwest this time of year shouldn't affect their performance against BU.
No, I don't think there's any distractions for RIT or for BU or for any of the teams out there being in South Dakota with it being bad weather. So that is going to be on ESPNU tomorrow. We'll do our best. I will do my best not to be distracted during the show tomorrow.
Nah, you're lying. And it's fine. It's okay. You can be distracted. We can be distracted together. We watch and listen along to BetMGM tonight every night here on the Fan Rochester. We love Ryan. We love Trista. Nick is great. The three of them are just following their bets all night long and reacting in real time to action as it's happening. And we won't do all of that with RIT on, but will we be distracted with RIT on tomorrow during the 5 o'clock hour? Yeah, we'll be distracted. Yeah. And I'll have one foot out the door because it's my last day before a week off of for vacation. So, yeah, no promises on brilliant radio tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, but we will keep you updated for sure on how the RIT Tigers are faring in the NCAA men's hockey tournament against Boston University.
Yeah, Boston University, only minus 125. Tomorrow. It's the favorite, but it's not this overwhelming, powerful favorite. Oh, by the way, Kevin Roche texting me. Like, what coach would say this? Is this a tactic, or is this something the Boston University head coach doing his media availability today with the game being tomorrow, asked about RIT, says they haven't scouted him. You're kidding? Like, is he kidding?
I love
it. Or does he
it.
think his team is that good with the 13 NHLers? And it is hockey after all. You do have to
scouted them. Man, that's a great position for RIT to be in. No one knows anything about you. Nobody cares to do the homework on you.
ESPN can't get the school name right.
Yeah, ESPN called you RPI. I mean, just go in there and shock everybody. What a great position to be in. Zero pressure. Zero pressure for RIT going into that game. Zero. all the pressure's on the stars of BU. Like, they can't lose. If you lose to RPI, Rochester, you can't.
The Rochester Tigers.
Yeah, you can't. Come on. No, it's a great spot for Wayne Wilson's team to be in. I mean, play that up. If I'm Wayne Wilson, these guys don't respect you. They don't respect you. They don't know where you're from. They don't know your name. They don't know your game. Go out there and humble them. Humble these kids. Because you can say that with the Tigers, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard, but that was one steady drumbeat on Sunday during the selection show that RIT boasts the oldest roster.
Don't bring that up to Wayne Wilson. Boy, I don't want to say he was curt, but he was like, they bring that up. They're not bringing up here that we have one of the top penalty kills in the nation. They're not bringing up we have one of the top goaltenders in the nation.
Right.
They're not bringing up that we have Casero, who leads all defensemen in the nation with 17 goals.
Right.
Well, none of that came up.
That's because nobody's scouting RIT. Nobody knows what's going on
don't care. Yeah,
in Atlantic hockey. Nobody's paying attention. So go in there and shock the world. Go in there and shock them. Just absolutely humiliate them. They've got all the pressure. You're playing with house money. Nobody expected you or wants you there. They don't even know your name. Get after it. I love it. I love how this sets up for RIT. And look, if they get the win, we can take a victory lap and say, hey, we told you so. This team is real. This team is legit. We had Rotolo in here earlier this week, and he believes that this is a more talented roster that RIT has had since, what did he say?
He said the Frozen Four team, and I'm like, whoa. Okay, that Frozen Four team had Chris Tanev. They had, and then you think about it, well, I'll say this. Denver was okay that year. So was New Hampshire. Boston University is really, really good. And they would have been the number one team had they actually won Hockey East. But you can't even call it an upset. They lost to Boston College, and they're really good too.
Right. Yeah, no, I think both of those programs are in kind of like a tier to themselves. But we've seen this in college hockey time and time again. It's not chalk. This is not the women's basketball tournament. It is not going to be as cut and dry, I think, as everybody expects it to be when you get a bracket laid out like that.
Union has won a championship. Quinnipiac has won a championship. There have been other schools. Yale. I mean, it can be done here. So go shock the world, Tigers. It's at 5 o'clock tomorrow, and I'm not going to have any baseball distracting me tomorrow.
No, you will not. I have a take on that. We'll share some takes coming up here later on this hour.
But I did do something different.
Tell me.
So 610 Sports, Kansas City.
That's our Odyssey Sports sister station there in Kansas City.
Which, I don't even want to say love-hate relationship. We're friends with Jay Binkley, but Binkley's the type of guy that's going to let you know, and it's like...
Bink has become the sports bar nemesis. Let's be real. I love having him on. I love talking to him, and he's a great guy. He is somebody I consider to be a friend of the program. But I also know that you, listening, when you hear the name Jay Binkley, and you know we're going to talk about the Chiefs, you already know what to expect. You expect a steady dose of just out-of-control homerism. There's nothing that the Chiefs do that's wrong or incorrect, and they own the Buffalo Bills.
So, to give you an idea about myself here, Danger, I'm the type of person that takes forever to make a decision. I don't do anything on a whim, okay? My wife is keep nagging me, are you going to buy the egg or not? Well, I'm trying to decide which... Okay, so it takes me a long time to make a decision. I did something very unusual last night. Because Alex Gold, 610 Sports, we've had Alex on.
Alex is great. Love Alex.
Does the middays out there, and Alex puts out a tweet, said, hey, I'm excited about baseball season. I'm starting up a fantasy league. Who wants in? Like, me, who has to think about everything. I'm in.
Impulsive.
Mm-hmm. So it was going to be 12, but he let in 14. It's head-to-head.
Ooh.
But here's the thing, Danger. The name of the league... The Kansas City Royals fans. That's the name of the league. 13 Jamos from Kansas City and me.
You're the lone wolf.
Me. So now I feel I have this responsibility for all the Bills Mafia, for all of West New York. It might just be a little piece, But damn it, I'm going to win this league.
Yeah.
I want the money.
Take their money.
I want to take their money. I want to say, and Binkley is not in it, but his producer, Kramer Sansone is. I'm going to say, I took your money, Sansone. I took your money, Gold. And hey, it's time for Buffalo Bills football. I'm going to have a feast and invite my friends with your money.
The Bills may never be able to get past Kansas City in the postseason, but at least Gene will have the satisfaction of saying, well, I beat those jamokes in fantasy baseball. How you like that? Take that, Kansas City.
We have to win now. This is not casual. I don't know who I'm dealing with here on the other end. If I'm dealing with sharks or squares, no idea. I have no idea. Like Gold, I know is a shark because he's on the BetQL network every once in a while.
You also have the format, which you brought up in passing. Head-to-head is... that's a grind, man. I mean, the 1 year I did fantasy baseball, it was head-to-head. And I remember, and it was with... that was actually Jim Riley's league.
Oh.
Jim Riley, who we've had on the show with us from the Barreled Up podcast. We did a fantasy football league, a bunch of us, we're all buddies, and we did a fantasy baseball league that one season, and we set it up as head-to-head. And by the end of the season, we were all so... just frustrated and dejected by everything with the experience that we're like, yeah, let's just chalk this up as a mistake and move on. I don't remember who won. I don't remember what happened. I don't even remember how a weekly winner was determined. It was just a mess. So it's a different format for you. Study up on that format. I know you will.
Oh, we're going to be fine. 9 o'clock tonight. So we'll do the draft. We'll keep tabs on this. I'm not going to, at the very least, I'm not going to embarrass myself, but I'm going to do everything I can to extract money out of Kansas City.
Good. That's a small victory for Western New York if you do.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, are they? It's not a single Royal I want my team. I'm going to laugh every time there's going to be a Royals tax.
That's a good strategy. Yeah, the Royals tax that they're going to have to pay, and you're just going to laugh at them because you're like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah, you can cheer while you're watching.
Yeah, good for you. Speaking of Major League Baseball, we go to Baltimore later this afternoon in the sports bar. And not just for baseball. Well, I tell you what, man. Yeah. You see the video and you see the images of the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing in Baltimore. It's absolutely horrific. I certainly can't imagine that and what that community is going through when you see and what this is going to mean just for the infrastructure and shipping and everybody that relied on that bridge to get across. I can't wait to have our conversation with our guy in Baltimore.
So Ben Wagner, who was doing Blue Jays radio, is now part of the Oriole broadcast team. There's a lot of different guys of the Orioles. And yeah, we invited him on, oh my gosh, this terrible accident happens. And a lot of things you could say, how in this day and age could something like that happen? And yes, 6 lives we know right now, or 6 people are unaccounted for, which that doesn't look too good, certainly now that so many hours have passed. On the other hand, there are people saying there are heroes here. Get off the bridge, get off. They could tell, oh my gosh, this ship is going to crash. So there are at least, some were spared, and that certainly is good. The Orioles, with these rainouts, they're going to be the first team up tomorrow. Now, they haven't called off the Oriole game tomorrow. If it's raining in New York, called off. If it's raining in Philadelphia, called off.
Yeah.
Right now, the Oriole game, 3:05 against the Angels. The Angels. I'm not an O's fan, but give them the win tomorrow, please. Yeah.
And another bit of news out of Baltimore, we have new ownership now.
Finally, yeah. This had been in the works for a while, and you saw the winds of change begin here when the team actually went out and made a move, at the trade deadline. Hey, we're good. Can we pick up anybody? A bat? Middle reliever? Box of balls? Nothing? No, the Orioles didn't do anything at the trade deadline. This offseason, they went out and got Corbin Burns, who really, one of the top pitchers in the National League. You didn't know about him because it was up in Milwaukee.
Right.
Burns will get the opening day start for the Orioles. So we'll talk about the new ownership, exactly what the vibe is in Baltimore after this tragedy. Our buddy Ben Wagner joining us in the 4 o'clock hour.
And then later on this hour, one of our favorites stops by the sports bar in about 10 minutes or so. We'll talk to Armando. Armando Salguero joins us from Outkick,
who was at the owners' meetings. And Danger, when was the last time we had a rule change that was this big
This is
in the
a
NFL.
significant rule change.
I would consider it major because the teams that figure this out, that's the potential for free points right there.
I don't know what he has left in the tank, but it didn't go unnoticed to me that the Steelers signed Cordero Patterson immediately. Like as soon as they knew, and there's a connection there with Arthur Smith from Atlanta, obviously, last season, but he's also a pretty good return guy, and in this format, maybe that gives them some sort of special teams advantage, given that Patterson has been that guy for a good part of his career.
Yeah, it's such a, and if you're not familiar with this, where players lining up and they cannot move until the ball is caught, so there's no more flying down the field, but after you get after that first level, you could be gone there. And there's been talk like, should the Bills bring back Deontay Hardy? Like, who on the Buffalo Bills roster right now would be that guy? And if Sean McDermott is on the competition committee, and if Sean McDermott knew that, hey, the vote might be going this way. Again, this is just my theory here because we all thought, wow, the Bills are loading up. They traded Ryan Bates for a 5th round. They have all these picks later rounds. That must mean they're moving up in the draft, which that could be. Or it could also mean, hey, the back end of our roster, we're going to need special teamers, and Tyler Matakevich and others, they're getting up there. We have to retool. This is the way to do it. So I'm curious as to what the Bills will be doing in the draft that night, but right now, special teams, they've never been more important with this rule change. We'll talk about this with Armando, and maybe I'm overstating it. We'll get Armando's
I think that at minimum, there's going to be opportunity for guys to make special teams that maybe wouldn't have had a chance to make teams just because they have a different skill set that is more in line with this new rule change. There's a lot to be determined, and I think a lot of teams are going to have to alter their strategy now, knowing that this is in play for at least next season. So that's another part of it. Like, what if it's a miserable failure? You invest in one season of special teamers for this format because you want to try and gain an advantage, and then next season, because the trial didn't work, you go away from it. That's happened before, right? The pass interference. Remember what is pass interference?
Right.
That went away after it was a season or two.
It was one season.
Yeah,
it was one season. It was an overreaction at the call in the NC Championship game between the Saints and the Rams.
That's right. Speaking of the Rams.
Yeah, we haven't brought this up. You know what's funny? I got to talk to Perino off air. Did he know yesterday that something was up or could have been up? Because when we asked Matt Perino, you heard Brandon Beane talking about leaving the door open, and you heard the nice comments from Sean McDermott on Tre'Davious White. And I'm just wondering, if this goes along and there's no offer and we get to June, could you actually bring back Tre'Davious White? And I asked him, what would be the percentage here about the Sabres? The Sabres were at 2.7, and Perino didn't bite. He said he could see a scenario where
next year
Tre'Davious White goes somewhere for 1 year, and then you bring him back down the road. What do you know? After we get off the air, it's a contract with the LA Rams, 1 year, could be up to $10 million if all of his incentives are hit.
Yeah, so a bit of a haircut with the salary from Trey White, but it's really about what he can do as far as getting healthy and getting on the field this season to test the market again next season and maybe get closer to where he believes he should be paid. The Rams get Trey White coming off of that Achilles injury.
Which, that's funny. Like, you don't think of the Rams being in buying mode after they went crazy there. And it got them a Super Bowl, mind you, but they've always been kind of scaling back. And, good. I think we're all going to be pulling for Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, hard not to. And two guys that are on the competition committee together there, and Sean McVay and Sean McDermott, player leaves. One team goes to the other, and we'll see if Trey White can, one, get on the field, and two, perform at the level that everybody expects him to perform at, being a former first round pick. You're welcome to join us in the sports bar this afternoon. Our phone number is 585-866-4FAN. Our lines are open for you at 866-4326. We're also on Elon's Twitter. That's X at the Fan Rochester. You can engage with us there as well.
How were you feeling last night after having I can't even say cold one, a strong one with Seth yesterday?
Can I tell you? Felt great. Felt fantastic. I went home. I was loose. I was fun. We were cracking jokes. I might have a new routine, Gino. I won't tell you about it, but I might be like, like a Shohei or a Carton. I might be able to deceive some people here. Keep some things close to the vest. You might never know.
I once did a game, and it was on the old Time Warner. I'm not going to say the team because that would give the team away, but the guy I was doing the game with shows up with a big old coffee mug, and it's 7:00 at night. I'm like, okay, you want to drink coffee at night? No problem. And then I realize, oh my gosh, he's not drinking coffee.
Right, Irish coffee.
No. It was pretty much the vapors coming out. I'm like, okay, look. Like, there's ways to do public speaking. I wouldn't advise using anything like that.
Well, here's my thing. Everybody is wired the way that they are wired. And I've been very open, and you've heard me say this. I'm better. I think I'm better when the edge is off. Just a little bit better. Just slightly altered. Not incoherent, not out of control, not over the legal limit. None of that. Just slightly altered. And that was how I felt yesterday with Seth in the studio sharing the pesky Amerks with us. I brought that home, and the girls saw it. They're like, "Oh, nice, yeah, driving home with an open container." I'm like, "Shh, it's okay, it's fine." Ooh. Don't. It was, how else am I going to get it home? What am I going to ship it to myself?
Actually,
of course.
Yeah, I didn't think about if you have like a bottle of hard alcohol, how do you transport that?
Right. Right. You don't. You don't. I just leave it here, which would be a problem because I'd be having some right now. And by the time we get to happy hour, then I might have an issue. Because with me, and I think you might be the same way, having just one sometimes is a hard no for me. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Action last night. I mean, Giannis, I called it, messed around, got a triple-double. Cashed that one, so Daddy's happy. A little pizza money in the bank account. That's good. And then tonight, we haven't mentioned it yet. The very, very slim playoff hopes of the S word.
Oh, yeah. It's on CMF tonight. We got the Amerks here
I think
tonight.
they win tonight. I know I said last night feels like a loss. I think they go home tonight against Ottawa, and I think they put it on them.
Well, Quinn's in the lineup tonight.
I like that.
Sabres,
I like that a lot. I think that changes some things.
Oh, I said the word. Dump that.
Sorry. Armando Salguero of Outkick joins us to talk about the NFL owners' meetings and some of these rule changes we can expect here in the upcoming season. Looking forward to that. And your calls at 866-4FAN. 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Some of the injury data that's coming off of that play, and then let's be honest, fans want to see an exciting play, right? We have an exciting game, to me the most exciting game out there, and we've got to keep it that way. And so in order to do that, you want returns to be back in the game. The returns dipped significantly this year, and they become dead plays.
Here's Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott, also of the NFL Competition Committee. NFL owners meetings wrapped up in Orlando, and Armando Salguero of Outkick was down covering it all. I want to get a recap from Armando, and thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate you as always. Can you tell us a little bit about just how impactful some of these rule changes are? I feel like the kickoff rule is going to be a hard thing for a lot of teams to adjust to, and that's just one of several rule changes that we have to look forward to this year.
Well, it's going to be hard initially for fans to adjust to because it's just going to look different.
Yeah.
And obviously there are people out there that watched the XFL back in the day. Back in the day being defined as what, a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And that looked different because it looked almost like a scrimmage play where the two sides are 5 yards apart. Meanwhile, the kicker is way back there on his own 35, and he has to hit the ball between the 20 and the end zone. And the NFL special teams coaches believe that returners are suddenly going to be way more valuable than they've been in the past, because when you figure that last year, for example, 1,970 plays resulted in nothing happening because there were touchbacks. Well, they expect that 1,000 of those this year will actually be returned. And that means that your returner, every individual returner, could have 50 opportunities a year to return the ball and give his team better field position and or points. So that's another outgrowth of these rules. It's all about points for the NFL.
Armando Salguero, fresh from the NFL owners meetings. Armando, one of the interesting teams this year, this offseason, the Dallas Cowboys were supposedly going all in, and then, not really, but then, wow, boy, they could be in for big changes in 2025. What do you make of the situation here in Dallas?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wrote about it today at Outkick. So we all know that Jerry Jones at the Senior Bowl said that 2024, the Cowboys, he was all in. And everybody thought, oh, my gosh, they're going to go out and go crazy and just bring in every star that they can find. And their signature move in free agency at the beginning was re-signing a long snapper. And so, curious. Their fans not happy. Well, at the owners' meetings, Jerry Jones says that, what this really is we're settled on what we have with our contracts. We're going all in on our guys this year with the contracts that they have this year. And when you think about it, that includes Dak Prescott, who is in a contract year, unsigned for next year. That includes the head coach in a contract year, unsigned for next year. CeeDee Lamb in a contract year, unsigned for next year. DeMarcus Lawrence in a contract year, unsigned for next year. And what it all says is Jerry Jones is telling his team, produce, and not just during the regular season, but produce in the playoffs. And, next year we'll talk about next year. We'll get you extensions. We'll get you new contracts if necessary, whatever. But if you don't produce in the playoffs, bye-bye. Your contract's over. We're not going to do the same thing all over again that we've been doing for years, which is winning in the regular season but failing in the playoffs.
It's interesting, though, Armando. It feels like it's become standard practice in the NFL to award the extension before you get to that final year of the contract. Yet there are a lot of players that when you look at their performance or their lack of ability to advance in the playoffs, they get it almost by default. Is Jerry, and we know they'll never admit it, but we know that these owners talk to each other and collude. Do you think Jerry is trying to set a new precedent here for the rest of the league by letting all of these players go into their final year?
Well, he's setting a new precedent for himself because he's always talked about, wanting to be ahead of the calendar, so to speak, whereas he's not worried year to year about the desperation of signing a player whose contract has expired. But he's learned that one of the worst things you can do is commit to people who then don't go out and meet your expectations. The worst thing, the New York Giants paid Daniel Jones $140 million, $92 million guaranteed after the 2022 season. And last year, 2023, was a mess. And there's buyer's remorse there. And today they're at the Jaden Daniels Pro Day in force down at Baton Rouge at LSU. And so what situation do the Giants have? They have a situation where they're paying a lot of money for their quarterback who they might be thinking of replacing. The Denver Broncos paid a lot of money for a quarterback that they replaced. When you are giving up big money and the guy is, especially the quarterback, is not giving you big results, that's worse than not having a quarterback.
Armando Salguero from Outkick, our guest here in the Sports Bar. And Armando, for years, decades, the Bills were always looking up to New England, thinking, boy, when that dynasty is gone, things will happen for this team. And, well, yeah, New England isn't New England, but there's another team that's in Buffalo's path, not the same division, but every year it seems like the Chiefs have their way, and it was last year, even though the game was in Buffalo, still Kansas City finding a way. So I guess my question is, should we just expect the Chiefs to continue here? What do you think of their offseason so far, and how do you think they'll fare here as they're headed towards dynasty status?
Well, so Buffalo Bills fans know how this feels from the other end because for 4 years in a row, they were the present-day Kansas City Chiefs in that they dominated the AFC and nobody else could get a word in edgewise, and they went into the Super Bowl year after year after year after year. Granted, they didn't win it, but it was a pain in the neck for the rest of the AFC. And so that's what the Kansas City Chiefs have become for the rest of the AFC and then really the entire NFL right now. And it's not just the Chiefs for the Bills, because the Cincinnati Bengals also have dealt the Bills, an unhappy pill. And I was there 2 years ago in Buffalo, and Joe Burrow came in and assassinated things on behalf of the Bengals. So the Bills are, they're at a certain level. And I know that Sean McDermott believes it's successful, and it has been. But success is relative. And a couple of years ago, the goal was not to have success by winning the AFC East year after year. The goal is that's supposed to be a team that was supposed to compete for Super Bowls, and they haven't gotten there, and they haven't gotten to the championship game, and that's problematic.
Armando, I want to go back to a couple of the rule changes coming out of the NFL owners meeting because for years in the NFL, you'll hear people say after a big play that gets overturned because the catch isn't completed, or what is a catch? And I have a feeling that the first month or so of this season, we're going to hear a lot of what is a tackle if they're penalizing teams 15 yards for the hip drop. It doesn't feel like a play that is as obvious to the eye as a horse collar or certainly a face mask, yet you're going to penalize a lot of players who just, this is the way that they tackle. What is your take on the hip drop tackle rule that's going into play here this upcoming season?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's not just the hip drop. The hip drop is legal. And nerdy reporters such as myself were corrected by the NFL types who told us it's the swivel hip drop that is illegal.
That won't make it any less confusing. That's great.
Absolutely. It's like, okay, so what? What does this mean? We're on a windmill that's going around and around, or what? Bottom line is, it's guys that are smaller and faster, catching guys that are typically bigger and slower from behind, and grabbing them around the hips or even the lower back, and then unweighting themselves in the air and swiveling around and landing on their knees, calves, ankles, and basically, doing damage there. That's what the NFL wants to eliminate. Guys that are slower and bigger love it. Guys that are faster and smaller on defense don't love it, because how are they supposed to, catch those guys and bring them down? Like, you're supposed to run ahead of them, then turn around and, face them up? No, nobody does that. So you're going to see a lot of those penalties. My guess is you're going to see a ton of fines. That is really the weapon that the NFL wants to use to outlaw this, so that people just, and by people I mean players, they just decide this is too costly for me to continue to use, even if I don't get a flag for it. You're going to see a lot of players not flagged, and then the following Saturday fined. Mm-hmm. And there will be a lot of complaints about that.
Armando, not a rule change, but they gave us a little schedule nugget. And if there was, I guess, a loser coming out of the meetings, it would be the NBA, right? That one holiday that you always had to yourself, Christmas Day. No, we're gonna put a couple. Armando, I was kind of joking with Danger. I'm like, wait a second, they're gonna put games on a Wednesday? They're gonna make this work on a Wednesday? Your thoughts on now the NFL fans having to go out and cheer their team on Christmas Day every year?
The NFL is like the big bully that walks into a bar and decides, yeah, I like your beer, I'm going to take it. And I like your beer, and I'm going to take it. And I like your beer, and I'm going to take it. And nobody can say no, because they're the biggest bully in the bar. The NBA thought it was safe with Christmas as their day to put on a show, so to speak. And last year, when the NFL decided, I like that date, I'm going to take it, they blew away the NBA in the ratings. And they're going to do it again, even though Christmas this year is on a Wednesday. I'm telling you, if Christmas next year was on the 8th day of the week on Mars, the NFL would decide, I like that day, I'm going to take it. And people would watch because they know that they're the biggest show, in the sports realm, and really in any realm, if you consider that like 94 out of the top 100 shows on television and broadcast last year were NFL games. And they just put that to work. Why? Oh, yeah, money.
Yeah. Hey, along those lines, Armando, as we talk about the NFL having a complete grip on our lives, This is a bigger story in Buffalo right now because the stadium is going up and season ticket holders are starting to meet with the team and team representatives about what the new stadium experience will be like. And I'm not sure how much you've been following along with what's going on with the Buffalo Bills stadium experience, but there's certainly been some sticker shock with the PSLs. You've covered this league a long time. You know a lot of these teams have employed the PSL with new stadiums or renovations. How does this play out? Do you think that, the Bills do have a waiting list. There's a lot of fans hoping to get in there, but ultimately with these PSLs, does the game day experience lose a little bit of its soul given that you've priced out a lot of fans who've had these tickets in their families for generations? Yeah, there's been teams that have sold their soul to corporations because they pay, big dollar signs and they are capable of doing it. And then they use those tickets for, their not their employees so much, but people that they're kind of either lobbying or just, executives or whoever who aren't invested in the team like your average, Joe Blow household who's been rooting for the Bills since the 60s. And, they bleed blue, and it's like we're going to live and die with the Bills no matter what until we're asked to buy a PSL and get outbid by a corporation who doesn't care one way or the other or hasn't cared one way or the other throughout history. That's a dangerous position to be in. And so my supposition is that the Buffalo Bills will have levels of PSLs, no? There are households that aren't going to buy on the 50-yard line, aren't going to buy, 2 rows back from the bench, but can get in the stadium for other seats and other places. And so that's typically what the solution has been in places such as Miami, where they realize we need to stay true to who we are. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to sell their tickets because they're at the Hamptons or whatever when the Bills come to town, which oftentimes happens down where I live.
Armando, last one from me, and 1 month from now we'll be in the NFL draft. It'll be day 3, actually. Your thoughts on Chicago at the top there? Were you surprised they moved Justin Fields when they did? Because by doing that, it kind of tells they certainly are going with Caleb Williams at number 1 overall.
No, I'm not surprised, and really, I'm surprised that people were surprised because look, Justin Fields had his chance, and something didn't go well enough to where it wasn't a question. And now he is an $11 million quarterback, not a $3 million quarterback. And next year he'll be a $25 million quarterback, not a $4 million quarterback. Those things matter to teams because you cannot keep a player who is still a developmental player and pay him like he's arrived. This interview has gone full circle now. Paying quarterbacks that aren't there and don't deserve to be paid is a bad idea. It's a better idea to go with an unknown that you're not paying and has a certain degree of prospect to him than the guy that isn't there yet and may not get there, but you're paying him like he's arrived. So that's why the Justin Fields thing didn't surprise me. What was surprising to me was that there's a team that was interested in bringing him in, but not starting him. Because, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, God bless them, they're going to pay for basically a one-year rental without really knowing whether he's even going to get on the field or not.
Well, let me follow up with a Steeler question for you on that, Armando, because I think I'm a little bit jealous of how the Steelers navigated this, and I think a lot of bad teams in the NFL could have done what Pittsburgh did, but they didn't. They didn't pull it off, and I'm not sure that Pittsburgh is going to be that much better at quarterback given what they've done, but they flipped their quarterback room with minimal investment. There is risk, but minimal investment. Would you agree that at least that was impressive by the Steelers? I'm not saying it's going to make them a better team at quarterback when it's all said and done, but if the goal was to flip the room, well, they did that pretty easily.
They did that great. There are people in the NFL that wonder if the Denver Broncos didn't, kind of cut off their nose to spite their face. The Broncos are now looking for a quarterback. They benched one guy last year who threw 26 touchdown passes and 8 interceptions in 15 games, and now they're paying him $39 million in dead money to go play for somebody else. And they got nobody. It's one thing if Russell Wilson was a schlub now and just couldn't get out of his own way. Russell Wilson was on a bad team, including a bad team that gave up 70 points in one game, and he still had a good season. The fact that the coach, Sean Payton, doesn't like him, doesn't like the fact that he takes some sacks and thinks he's not 24-year-old Russell Wilson anymore. Okay, well, let's see what 24-year-old Jarrett Stidham does for you.
Armando Salguero from Outkick, where you can go check out his piece on the Dallas Cowboys today, how their 2024 season is going to be do or die, really. Armando, what else are you working at Outkick here coming up that we can check out?
Yeah, actually, so Jaden Daniels just got done with his pro day, so I'm going to be writing about that. That kid's impressive.
Yeah.
I like him more than Drake May. I probably am wrong, but I still like him more than Drake May.
Yeah, that him and Neighbors putting on a show at LSU's Pro Day today. From everything you saw, whether it was video or some of the measurables and statistics, pretty impressive stuff, Armando. Appreciate you joining us, and thanks for all you do and covering the game that we love. Let's talk again this offseason.
Sounds great, guys.
Thanks, Armando.
Armando Salguero, covering the NFL for Outkick, joining us here in the Sports Bar with his latest, not just from LSU's Pro Day today, but also the NFL owners' meetings, which concluded this week.
Yeah, and that's with everything going on here with the tournament and Shohei Ohtani, and certainly we talk about the Bills. The Cowboys, the idea, you brought this up, like this template of, hey, you want another contract, guys? Yeah, we're not going to accept another year.
It's almost as if Jerry is saying the entire world of sports knows we're a cash cow. And you can milk us as much as you want to milk us, but enough is enough. We aren't getting to where we want to be. So if you want to continue to nurse off the cash cow, this is the year to do it. I kind of dig it. I always wondered, it's become common practice for teams to make sure that their star players don't get into the final year of the contract. We don't want them to hit free agency. It's like, why do you care? You're not winning the Super Bowl.
Well, even teams that won the Super Bowl, Kansas City had 2 grade A, not Pro Bowl, all pro level players in Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, and they kept one and they had to lose another. But you know what? They weren't worried about those guys going in the last year of their deal.
And not only that, there's a good enough relationship there with the team. And I think when you see how Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott maneuver with their players, for the most part, I would say there are a lot of players that would be like, yeah, I'm going to stay with Bob, unless their representation is saying you should feel slighted that they aren't giving you a new extension going into the final year of your deal. They don't believe that you can perform at the level that they're asking you to perform at. I think it's fascinating. And I also think because we know the kind of influence Jerry has around the NFL, that other owners are going to watch this with great interest and see what the result of it is.
Yeah, what if it works?
Yeah.
What if all of a sudden, oh my gosh, how did Dallas, after all these years, end up in the Super Bowl? I mean, that's what we say all the time when we're drafting in fantasy, right? Oh, contract year. Ooh, contract year. They have to. Okay, now the stars of Dallas, they're all lined up at the same time. I'm fascinated to see how that's going to work.
Yeah,
out.
that'll be a lot of fun to watch. We've got some takes on tap next in the sports bar. I have a suggestion for Major League Baseball, but, who am I?
Is this a red flag or not with Caleb Williams? Last night he was attending a game there, and I'm going to break down the video here. I've got thoughts on that. And also, a little college basketball take here, as there is a very big name in college basketball that wants back in a sport danger that where you've lost the Roy Williams and the Boeheims and everybody else. I think this is kind of notable.
Baltimore Orioles broadcaster Ben Wagner going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. And we'll also have time for your calls on the other side as well. 866-4FAN, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 866-4326.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Rams agreeing to terms of former Bills All-Pro corner Tre'Davious White.
I'm over at Epcot right now. I'm in line for test track.
Mike Danger.
Because everything has to sound like this, and I don't know that you really talk like this when you're actually having a conversation with somebody.
Gene Battaglia.
Keep something in mind. We don't know the true character about anyone.
I don't think Josh Allen's winning the Super Bowl, do you? I don't think he's winning one.
The baseball season truly gets going tomorrow with this huge gambling cloud hanging over Shohei Ohtani.
And Shohei has been ushered out of the clubhouse in handcuffs.
The Arizona Diamondbacks and lefty starter Jordan Montgomery won John Calipari.
Ice Cube confirmed that his Big Three basketball circuit has offered Caitlin Clark $5 million to play for them.
We are getting set for a little Sabres Senators tonight.
Sens?
Jack Quinn is looks like he's ready to go, so I would expect to see him in the lineup.
Amerks Crunch, starting at 7 tonight.
You dislike each other at such a high level.
Shrimp cocktail.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us, listening along in the free-to-download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. You can get the Sports Bar wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar. All of our guest appearances and shows are listed for you there. And that includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're on YouTube, our channel, The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch as well at The Fan Rochester. And you can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia. Let's dish out some takes.
I am ready for some takes here, Danger. By the way, Oriole fans, hang with us. We will talk some opening day coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Ben Wagner now with the Orioles broadcast team, and certainly there's a lot going down in Maryland. We will get the flavor of Baltimore coming up here in just a bit. But, boy, you want to talk about a year flying right by. It just hit me when we were talking to Armando, like, wait a second, we're less than a month away from the NFL draft now. That is coming up. And really, there's not going to be any suspense at the top of the draft, right? Since we love to dissect everything possible about an NFL prospect, particularly the quarterback position, I bring you, Mike Danger and everyone, what many observed on Caleb Williams, the former USC quarterback, the presumptive number 1 overall pick. While he was cheering on USC women's basketball, that's fine, and then the cameras pick him up, and at the same time, we should note the TV and the jumbotron showing him at the same time, and they're playing the Black Eyed Peas, and he starts doing a little dance, and all right, and like that, not for me doing a little dance in your seat, but here's the part that people are kind of pointing out.
Wait, not for me, fun.
The Black Eyed Peas.
Fun. Yeah, okay, never mind. Go ahead, continue.
All right. I see what I'm.
A rant is coming. A storm is brewing, but go on.
Okay. All right. Fine. He can dance in his seat. Whatever. He raises his hand. Again, the music grooving. He's raising his hand at, like he's dancing. And you could see that he's got a pink phone, a pink little, I can't call it a purse, whatever, and pink nails. Like his nails are pink. First of all, on the phone, I kid you not, Danger. I have a lavender phone. Like if you're watching right now on the YouTube and Twitch. Okay, so here's the phone, black case, but I take the case off, and there you go. It's lavender.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, and the reason why I have a lavender phone, because, well, my phone broke, and it was a supply chain, and you could wait a week or two, but we have this. I'll take that. That's fine. No big deal. But look, got to be careful here. The pink polished nails. Like, before you jump to conclusions on my take, listen to my take, okay? I'm not a fan of quarterbacks that want to draw attention to themselves. To the UBU crowd, fine, no argument. Everybody can be themselves. UBU. But in that job, NFL quarterback, you already get a ton of the spotlight. The good and the bad. So why, by making your nails all pink and pretty, bring more attention to yourself?
Do you want to take a stab at how many of my friends sent me this clip that you're referencing?
The over-under 10.
No less than a half dozen.
Okay.
All saying the same thing that you just said. Do you want to know what I say as a retort? I don't care. I don't care if Barbie is the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. All I care is that he goes in there and he frickin' wins. I do not care. He can have purple hair and green toes. I don't care. RuPaul could be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, and I wouldn't care as long as he can beat Green Bay twice a year. That's all I care about. You know what I care about? I care about watching highlights of this guy at USC throwing the ball 70 yards on a rope. That's what I care about. Now, what you're describing might not fly in Chicago. It might raise some eyebrows. There are a lot of people in Chicago that view it the same way you do. And I know this because I'm friends with a lot of Chicago Bears fans. And none of them will care as long as he goes in there and wins. And I have a low bar. My bar is low. Beat Green Bay. That's all I want is just come on. Just beat Green Bay. Just compete and beat your division rival. And when you do that, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. I hear you. I hear all that. But name me the quarterback as a rookie that comes in and faces no adversity. You all face adversity, every one of them. Josh Allen had a losing season. You can say Mahomes. Mahomes lost to Brady the first season. It wasn't great. In fact, the first season. So in the course of an NFL career, you will have adversity. And when you just kind of lump this in with the crying in the mother's arms, I'm sorry, there are red flags here.
I don't care. I do not care. And honestly, if those red flags do present themselves, Chicago will turn on him quickly. Let me tell you what will happen. If he gets drafted by the Bears, here's some tells you can look out for, okay? When he gets drafted by the Bears and they ask him about Chicago and he replies with something corny like, yeah, I can't wait to try my first deep dish pizza. Red flag. Then Bear fans will be like, okay, here's why.
Why?
All we want to hear is we are going to win titles. That's all we want to hear. That's all anybody wants to hear. So, if there's anything to what you're saying, I don't want a guy that's going to be about himself. I want a guy that's going to go in there and be like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to beat Green Bay. We're going to win the division, and we're going to make it to the Super Bowl, and we're going to win the goddamn game for the first time since '85. That's all I care about. I don't care if he paints his nails. I don't care if he wears lipstick. I don't care if he has a pink phone. Win games. That's it. That's all I care about. And when I watch him throw the football, I feel pretty good about what they're about to do. They feel like a team that has put pieces around him and they've set him up to be a success. You're right. Every quarterback is going to face adversity, but they've done everything they can, I think, to limit those adversities his rookie year. All that said, it's Chicago and these screw-up quarterbacks, but I'm done. I don't want to put that on Ryan Poles. This is Ryan Poles' shot. This is the pride of Section 5. He's doing it the way he wants to do it. It's not his fault that the former regime drafted Justin Fields and messed him up. Don't mess this up. Win games. If he comes into Chicago and this is what he needs to say. Not, I can't wait to have deep dish pizza. Can't wait to, all the touristy stuff, all the casual stuff. Every Bear fan in Chicago, all they want to hear is, I'm here to win. That's all the city wants. That's all that market wants. They want a winner.
Here's my opinion on this, too, if I can kind of describe. When you get to win, you can do whatever the heck you want.
That's right.
You're Dennis Rodman, do whatever you want.
That's right.
You're Willis Reed, do whatever you want. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done anything.
I know.
Nothing.
I know. But, again, if he at least says that after he's drafted, if he at least... The first red flag will be, I can't wait to get to Chicago and try some pizza and Italian sausage, and I love the Bear. And that will rub everybody the wrong way. That will be the first red flag. Now you're a phony. All we want to hear is, I'm here to win championships. You can count on me to win football games in Chicago. That's all we want to hear. And me personally, I just beat Green Bay. That's all. That's my low expectation. Just beat Green Bay. Just compete against Green Bay. Justin Fields isn't in Chicago because he did not compete in the opportunities he had to compete when it mattered the most to save his job. He's gone. And it's not Ryan Poles' fault. It's not Ryan Poles' fault.
He didn't draft him.
Right? He didn't draft him. He doesn't owe him anything. Now he's doing it the way he wants to do it. He brings in Keenan Allen. You have DJ Moore. You have a better offensive line. You've made moves. You set him up for hopefully some success. I don't care what he does with his fingernails or what color his phone is. Just win football games. And man, if he looks as good for the Bears as he looked at times for USC, I feel pretty good about it. That's it. I'm done. Rant over. Felt pretty good.
I didn't mean to push your buttons there.
Felt pretty good. Felt pretty good. Thank you, Gino. I needed that.
If he comes in, now I'm going to be watching Draft Night. Caleb, congratulations. It'll be Susie Colbert. Congratulations. What do you think? Man, I can't wait to go to a Cubs game. Yeah.
Every Bears fan will hate him right away. Like, oh, good. He's trying too hard to placate us. He's not real. He's a fraud. Yeah. No. All we care about is I'm coming here to win. I'm coming here to assassinate the Green Bay Packers. That's all we want to hear. Nothing like Major League Baseball opening day. It's one of the best sports days on the calendar, except, are you excited for tomorrow, Gino?
Well, not as this morning, yes. Right now,
look at this great series we've got between the Phillies and the Braves and the Mets. This is going to be a great start to the season, except... What are we doing? Major League... I'm going to say something that's going to piss off baseball writer, and I don't care.
All right.
Shorten the season or schedule more early season games south. Northeast, and the Midwest, the weather this time of year is crap. It's not predictable. It's unpredictable. You can't... You're going to postpone it to Friday, and that's fine. You have a doubleheader. You know what you're going to have on Friday? You're going to have a doubleheader with nobody in the stands or people that are in the stands miserable.
I think they scheduled that as an off day in like Thursday, but if not Thursday, Friday. But to your point, Danger, okay? I'm going to bring you these teams, okay? The Angels. Well, that's really nice weather. How about Toronto? They're in a dome, okay? These are teams. San Francisco. Hey, it's always okay in the Bay. Might be a little chilly, but these are the teams starting on the road. What are you doing? Like, the fact that Toronto is playing at Tampa Bay. Like,
that's a miss.
It is a terrible miss.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now you're postponing opening day, and the weather, when you do get on the field, it's going to be 40 degrees. Yeah, it might not rain, but everybody's going to be free. Nothing like watching 9 innings of baseball where you're freezing your cojones off for opening day. That's not the opening day experience that I think fans deserve. I'm saying if you don't shorten the season, which I know they won't because it'll cost them money and they don't want to lose money. They're not in that business. At least get better at scheduling the early season games.
We've got Red Wings baseball, the opener on Tuesday. I
know. And the 50-degree guarantee, we love Mace, and I hope that it hits 50 degrees. But even then, think about that. I mean, if you get 50 degrees and the sun isn't out and it's windy, that ain't fun.
No, I was there for Tebow night. Like, you're looking up at the scoreboard, it's saying 35. I'm like, what are we doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you
doing?
doing?
Going to a football game.
Yeah, that's less than ideal.
One college basketball program that has gone off the rails, like really off a cliff, Louisville. Man, you remember the years of Pitino and Louisville? Yeah, you haven't been paying attention. They fired their coach this year after going 8-24. This coming off a year they went 4-28. There is one coach that is looking for work, that is making it be known that he wants the job. That's Bob Huggins. Now, Huggins, finger quote here, retired in 2023. This after a second DWI in West Virginia. This coming after the first DWI. This coming after a radio appearance where he said some unfortunate things, and West Virginia was like, yeah, you know what? I think we're done here.
What do you have to say in West Virginia to get canceled?
Well,
whoa! I don't even remember that part, but that
was it was on the air in Cincinnati, and I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
You can go look that up.
Okay.
I would say this. Like, in the world of second chances, if Bob Huggins can stay clean and he wants the job, why wouldn't Louisville hire Bob Huggins? In a world also where all these coaches are fleeing, change, I don't like this. Huggins is saying, no, I want back in. Let the man back in. But you know what? Louisville's not going to do that.
No, they won't. They'll probably view him as too toxic and untouchable and, too checkered a past. Win you a lot of basketball games, though. Sure, win you a lot of certainly more than 8 in a season.
Well, he's like Pitino got his second chance. Granted, he had to go over to Greece and then Iona and then St. John's.
How old is Huggins? Do we know? That might be part of it too. Oh, I'm sorry. Ageism isn't a thing. No, that doesn't exist. I'm sorry.
Going to guess 70. Okay.
Nah, he's over the hill. They're not going to hire him.
No, they're not. No.
I mean, look, I love that he wants to continue to coach, and I almost pity the guy who's 70 years old and hasn't yet found that thing that can fill the void that coaching gave him. But I suppose the way he was let go from West Virginia in an unceremonious way makes it hard for him to remain a part of that community. Much like Jim Boeheim is still a part of Syracuse, like he can still get some of that juice.
That's it. Like these guys, they don't know any other life.
Right. You see Roy Williams at UNC games, right? You're still going to see Coach K showing up to Duke games. Like they're still a part of the program, even though they're not a part of the program. And if you're Huggins, that's probably what's missing here, and you just want to be a part of something again.
Can I compliment Boeheim on one thing? I really thought he'd have a bigger shadow this year. And granted, he was doing the games on television because people think it's so easy being on TV.
Nope.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And Boeheim's a basketball junkie, and I think he did just fine on that. And I thought for sure he'd be weighing in a lot more, and you would see him offering opinions on Syracuse basketball. You know what? He didn't do that. So I'll give him credit.
I'll give him credit as well. You want to know where I'll give him credit? He was right. His take about the ACC was right. I don't know that 6 teams needed to make the ACC tournament when you see 4 of the final 16 teams in the tournament from the ACC. Yeah, you probably could have had 6 ACC teams in the tournament, and you probably still had 4 or 5 in the Sweet 16. He was right.
Good, you're coming around there. I'm like,
yeah, Coach. Yeah, I heard you. And here's your reward. We got some beef Wellington for you in the green room. Your favorite. I don't know how Jim Boeheim all of a sudden got aligned with beef Wellington, but
they don't have that at Oak Hill. I like Oak Hill.
I know you like Oak Hill.
And what else?
You know what's great about Oak Hill?
CCR,
You know what's great about those places? You don't get to mingle with the common folk.
Well, Julie and I went to Bill's camp. We went on the day where it wasn't open to the public.
I noticed that.
You know why? Because we don't like the public.
I understand. You don't want to deal with the public.
Deal with reporters.
Yeah. No, I get it. You just want to kind of live your life and not be, stopped by anybody who wants to say, "Hey, Coach, love your work. Hey, Coach, you mean a lot to the community." You'd rather just kind of go about your day.
Are we on the air right now?
Yeah, I'm Mike Greenberg. Golick is in the other studio.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
If we were off air, I would have meant that.
We go to Baltimore next. Not just to talk about what's going on with the Orioles as they have finally a new deal. A new owner, which is a big deal. But man, the city also just kind of reeling. I mean, the news world is centered on the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. And we'll go and check in with our buddy, Ben Wagner, one of the voices of the Baltimore Orioles, who will be joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. You could say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Now, whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. FanDuel.com/Mike. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening. Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, you're back in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the eve of Major League Baseball's opening day. We welcome in one of our favorites. This will be the first time that we've talked to him in his new role, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Ben Wagner. Have you picked up the Maryland accent yet, Ben Wagner?
Oh, there's a lot of pressure to grab that accent. I can say this, successfully avoiding the Western New York accent for a decade. I feel very confident about avoiding the Maryland accent. And just being the same Ben, just new feathers.
You don't want to kind of adapt to the locals there. Throw out, I know he's not with the team anymore, but he's still beloved. Manny Machado,
Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah, I mean, these are this is the world you're living in now, Ben.
I'll tell you, if it gains me traction with the fan base and gains listeners or viewers, then I'm all in. Whatever it takes for the good of the order.
Ben, just give us an idea, because we're all watching this story here. Just give us a sense what it's like down there in the Baltimore area after the collapse of the Key Bridge.
Well, it's just a devastating loss for what is a beautiful part of the country. If you've not been in the Baltimore area, it's great with the waterfront. It's embraced. People love their outdoor activity, the boardwalk around it, and with that comes certain images on the skyline that people will reference and hold near and dear. And the Key Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, is one of those things that were as synonymous with a city skyline, a landscape of a region, as anything that is. And the name of that bridge is because it's so close to where the Star-Spangled Banner was written. There is a there was a blue and white buoy at the very spot, and it's really close to the bridge. And that's why it's so synonymous with the fabric of American culture, the history, of course, of this area. The tenor yesterday just was awful. I mean, it was awful. It was supposed to be a day of celebration for the city with the baseball team coming to town. Orioles were supposed to have a open to the public workout, and because so many local resources were kind of pressed in duty, emergency overnight with the collapse of the bridge and the ongoing investigation and still the recovery effort as well for the 6 individuals that are presumed dead at this point. It was a very, very somber day across the city. It was the talking point, from coffee houses to bopping around, and of course, one of the very first things players and managers and front office personnel were addressing yesterday in what became a closed workout at the ballpark.
Ben, I want to talk baseball with you, obviously, but this is such a powerful and impactful story, and I'm curious if you can share with us what you're hearing out of the region as far as how this will impact the infrastructure of Baltimore. How will it impact, deliveries, getting across the bridge? What does that all look like here now with the bridge collapse and this horrible tragedy of loss of life as well?
Yeah, I'm not as versed on the particulars in terms of it, but I can tell you just years of coming to Baltimore, knowing how vital this waterway is to get out into the open sea. This is a huge port. There's a lot of traction, both from a commercial perspective, from a private perspective, and from a defense perspective as well. There are shipyards for the Navy Department here as well, where a lot of their shipping and surplus and resources move in and out of the Baltimore Harbor, get into the Chesapeake Bay, and then start to be a lifeline when you get down towards Norfolk, when you get into the Atlantic, and then wherever these destinations across the world are. There is a hub just across the Inner Harbor here where I'm living, where it's basically a super center on the water for the United States defense systems. Everything from personal supplies that could get shipped to servicemen and women across the globe to just what you would need if your family is living abroad. It's basically a super center floating, where you can go to the X and to have these resources provided. So this is obviously a very major impact, and one that will be closed off for the foreseeable future. Right now, with the containers that fell off the cargo ship, the Bait Impact, the dolly that made impact on the Key Bridge, they're not anticipating that ship to be moved for up to 2 to 3 weeks. So that kind of gives you a perspective on how long that regular shipping traffic might be pinned into the harbor, as well as they comb through to the debris and an ongoing investigation site too.
Ben, I'm sure you've given this some thought here too, because I'm trying to picture what that's going to be like tomorrow. And I think we all can be Oriole fans, right? How sports can bring a community together in a time like this, and we've seen it throughout history. So your thoughts on what that's going to be like tomorrow at Oriole Park at Camden Yards for opening day against the Angels?
I think it's really going to be a moving moment. I think that the energy of the ballpark that is celebrating, and not only is opening day a celebration here in Baltimore, this is a celebration and a change of leadership as well.
Yeah.
A member of the community that has been entrusted with preserving so much about Baltimore, specifically Maryland, and very active in David Rubenstein and his leadership from a national perspective with what he has done in the arts community and been invested privately as well. That's going to definitely throw a little bit of a misty eye on what it was, and still will be a big celebration for a ball club that should be very, very good. And I know we're going to talk about the fun part of my life here in a minute,
Yeah.
but it's definitely going to be something that I referenced earlier. It is the respect for those that lost their lives in what could have been a much worse situation. And thankfully, first responders that were on the scene in the bridge shut down traffic when they heard the mayday and the distress call coming from the ship that was adrift, and recognizing the men and women that are still out there and actively searching for the recovery of the bodies. And again, it's the loss of something iconic within a landscape of this region, let alone the paralyzing recognition that it provides, because that's part of the Beltway, which the 695 that loops around Baltimore and Washington, D.C., is a massive artery, let alone the impact of that just from a commuting standpoint. I mean, people's lives and their job structure has changed because of this.
Ben, you mentioned his name, new owner, David Rubenstein, and I'm curious as to what you're hearing as far as how the team is going to operate now with the Angelos family out of the picture.
Well, we don't know yet, right? We really don't know. I think day one on the job is today for the leadership group. It's a very diverse and interesting collection of individuals, and the point person will be David Rubenstein as he moves forward and really puts his arm around his new empire. He's been very successful. We know the philanthropic endeavors that he's had and the success behind that. And this certainly is a passion project for him, being a lifelong Orioles fan. But really, day one on the job, while he has been in Sarasota, and I've been down there in spring training and witnessed him kind of mill around, I think one of the more encouraging things, too, to watch as new ownership and kind of this new face and identity of a franchise moving forward is the access Oriole fans have to him as well. He was stopping in the concourse and posing for pictures. He was been spotted in the team store, kind of milling around, maybe checking out the new swag. It's exciting. It's exciting. And, a lot of this will certainly be baseball focused moving forward, plus the new lease agreement with the state, what the dollars that are already earmarked for improvements, development around the ballpark, what kind of signature he wants, because this is not only just somebody that can make his mark in wins and losses for baseball seasons for years to come, but this is also now a legacy project with what that ballpark looks and feels like with his ownership, his leadership, and the people that kind of are going to be counseled moving forward here. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, too, because the timing of this, Ben Wagner, one of the voices of the Baltimore Orioles, joining us. Boy, all the young talent on this team, and we saw it on display. And, Ben, we hear it in Rochester, as you know, because there's a lot of Oriole fans still here dating back to their days of the affiliation, the longtime affiliation with the Red Wings. And, trade deadline, you see Verlander go here, and you see Scherzer go here, and the Orioles didn't do anything, but Now you do have that guy at the top of rotation. What is that, the pickup of your new guy, Corbin Burns, what's that going to add to the team?
Oh, it has huge ripple effects. And when you get somebody with the pedigree of Corbin Burns, a guy that you know is going to have the ball on opening day, that sets the tone. And what really sticks out too is the success, yes, in numbers, in statistics, and the opportunity to start postseason games is what Corbin Burns has brought from Milwaukee now to Baltimore. But it's also a tone setter. It's a tone setter for that entire room about how to get work done, how to focus. And a lot of the young core here in Baltimore haven't had to go through paralyzing injury in just situations where it's frozen potentially them in a moment of time or a season or disrupted things. Corbin Burns has gone through that. So Corbin Burns automatically becomes a resource for so many different reasons within that clubhouse right now and moving forward. And there's also some construct with leadership where, you go out, you sign a veteran in Tony Kemp, right? He comes into that clubhouse as well. He's so versatile, so important to, I think, being a sounding board because people needed to be that for him. Well, you've got two guys right there in the middle of this thing. One sought after because of the trade and flexing the resources that the Orioles had. And then two, the relationship with Mike Elias and where he was in Houston, where Tony Kemp was. They've been together forever and in contact forever since his first day in the big league. So there's certainly high expectations and a belief and an air of confidence that isn't certainly cocky, which you can get with some young clubs, because they know they have to go out there and prove it, and they are certainly well aware of falling short from their goal, even though they got that first-round bye. It wasn't about winning the division in Baltimore, and I watched it from afar for 6 years in the turnaround of the franchise. It was about making a deep run through the month of October and getting to the World Series.
So handicap the rest of the AL East, because if it's going to be a division for Baltimore, they're going to have competition, you would assume. You mentioned how you watched it from afar from Toronto. Talk about the Jays. We know the Rays got off to a hot start last season before kind of cooling off. Yankees and Red Sox are always there. What's your take on the AL East and how it all shakes out this year?
Well, right away, you have to go to the injury bug, right? What is going to hamper Toronto, and they're going to lose their closer, which you've got to have somebody find those final three outs. Jordan Romano is going to start on the injured list. There's questions around how far behind is Kevin Gausman. Will Alek Manoah come back in any symbolism of what he was 2 years ago? Sounds like he's going to be very far behind, so it's going to be at least 3 weeks until Manoah is there. I've got questions about certainly the pitching in Toronto, and I don't think they did enough to address their offensive concerns. Adding a nice piece and a veteran and somebody that understands himself as a hitter in Justin Turner, really nice pickup. But that's a team that needs home runs. They need to blast the ball out of the ballpark. And a flip-flop of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette in the order, I think is something that is long overdue, because Bo's somebody that puts the ball into play, and you wanted an RBI guy in an RBI situation, and batting number 2 for me just didn't do it. So the Blue Jays they've got to find their identity, first and foremost. The New York Yankees are always going to be a problem. Garrett Cole is a huge loss for them, and missing out on Jordan Montgomery, obviously, he's got a sting right now just on the heels of getting to opening day for New York. But the rest of the American League East goes, oh, well, sorry, guys, worry about you later. I think the Boston Red Sox are going to be drastically improved, and Trevor Story is going to be kind of the straw in the middle of this thing in Boston that stirs the drink. Offensively, he looks so much further ahead of where he was last year, and healthy. Health first and foremost is going to be the key there with him. But Tristan Casas is likely to have a massive year. He's somebody that has just matured and thrived while doing it at the major league level and going through some of the real big struggles. I think offensively, Boston will be a problem. And whether or not they've got somebody to jump into that rotation and take the next step, Winkowski may be one of those guys that, kind of blossoms onto the pitching front. What's Garrett Whitlock going to be? That'll be really interesting. I think Boston's not certainly going to be a cellar dweller like they have been the last couple of years, because the misses there in Boston were pretty apparent. And ultimately, it cost Chaim Bloom his job, moving forward. So while they want to do things more interestingly and very similar to a main competitor in the American League East like Tampa Bay, Craig Breslow's got his work cut out for him, and it's going to be a complete just reverse in culture, I think, in Boston for the better as well. And I never count out the Rays, man. They're pesky. They do unique things. They try to do it creatively, and it seems like always when things start to go off the rails in Tampa Bay, they unearth somebody that throws 105 and can go out and shove for 7 innings. or a Rule 5 guy comes up and at the end of the year he's got 25 home runs and flirting with driving in 100. I think the Rays will still be good. I don't know that the stiffest competition is in Tampa Bay right now for the Baltimore Orioles. And that's why I think Baltimore is in a very, very good position right now in the American League East.
Ben, last one for me, and I'm not going to lie. I was kind of bummed to see Jackson Holliday get sent down. For folks who don't know, Jackson Holliday, number 1 overall pick in 2022. From where I sit, all right, this is one of the best young players in the game today. Shortstop, seemed to tear up the minors, and yet we got to delay the clock. Like, you lived through this with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Like, why is he still in Buffalo? This is great for us in Western New York that he's coming here to play at, the former stadium known as Frontier. But, like, your thoughts here on Jackson Holliday. When might we see him up with the O's here coming up, Ben?
I think it's going to be soon. I don't think if he has any sort of production like he had last year, he went through 3 different levels. And I know the sample size of AAA was small. I try to keep it in perspective, and yes, you're right. I saw it with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. And they have become all-star caliber and on the field everyday superstars in the big leagues. They did it at a little bit more seasoning in their career, too. Jackson Holliday comes to the big leagues. He's going to be 20 years old, wire to wire. There were 20 years old players last year in the big leagues that eventually turned 21, but 20 years of age is something you want to hear, and general managers talk about this, front offices talk about the maturation of a player, both physically and mentally, going through some struggles. At the beginning of this thing, Jackson Holliday, the number 1 prospect who didn't miss a beat all spring training, made a decision very, very hard on a front office. There is some seasoning that still needs to happen. He's going to face a lot better pitching than what he certainly did in AA and A-ball, where he spent the majority of the year. And did he get exposed? No. Did he thrive? Yes, he did, especially lefty on lefty when he was at the plate during camp. But there is a position change, and one of the big decision factors for me was the number of handles, the number of reps that he got at second base in game action. You cannot replicate game activity and game speed without going through it at game play. If he checks a couple of more boxes and that bat plays, and there is a need at the big league level, a zero hesitation coming from Baltimore to get Jackson Holliday up, if it makes sense. But, you don't want a guy that's going to sit on the injury list for, 14 days all of a sudden to create this opportunity. You want Jackson Holliday to come to the big leagues and be in the big leagues for the rest of his career. You don't want a guy that's going to be a yo-yo, up and down, up and down, up and down. You want him to come, get settled in the major leagues, figure out what big league life is, and he's very comfortable with it, too, because of his pedigree. His dad, Matt, of course, was a great player in St. Louis for a number of years, all-star caliber player and performer as well. So he's been ingrained to this clubhouse culture already. He's not going to be starry-eyed, but he's still going to need to be a big leaguer, and he wanted to be a big leaguer from the moment he steps on the field for the rest of his career. The clock is certainly ticking in a good way for Jackson Holliday to come to the Baltimore Orioles.
Ben, it is great catching up with you. We hope to have a chance to talk to you here throughout the course of the season here. We congratulate you on the new role there with the Orioles. And all I ask is that between now and our next conversation, you work just a little bit. Vlad Guerrero, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, and if you can, when you see Nate Rowan, tell him to stop big leaguing us.
Oh, and that guy.
That guy. Nate Rowan.
Yeah,
right?
Nate Rowan. Yeah, you're getting there. You're getting there.
There we go.
Nate Rowan. Yeah.
I'll work on my inflection. I'll flex my muscle with Nate and see if he can return a call for you guys. And stop big leaguing everybody back in the Flower City.
It's very sad. It's just very sad to see one of our own turn his back on us because he's big time now, Ben. We really don't know how to take it. Enjoy the rest of your day, buddy, and have a great call tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it, and chat soon.
All right, thanks, Ben. Ben Wagner, who for many years was with the Toronto Blue Jays. And then the Blue Jays just decided, yeah, we're going to kind of not renew your contract. Ben gets a job with the Orioles. So I always say good things happen to good people. Ben is a really good guy who also has Rochester roots, Danger, as he was doing the Section 5 high school sports show for many years on Time Warner and had a chance to go on there. And that was when Jake Zembeck and the
oh, sure.
Irish,
That's not even that long ago.
No, so he was doing radio in Buffalo at that point and picked up an off-season job doing helping out high school football in Rochester.
Well, he knows his stuff, and really excited for him there with his new role with the O's, and hopefully we have the chance to talk to Ben throughout the course of the baseball season. Got a good perspective there on the AL East, and he's high on the Red Sox. Or at least they're not going to be cellar dwellers, I think is his word. Okay.
Yeah, the Jays, and he's right about the Jays. Like, what are they?
Yeah. Well, it is kind of the season of optimism, but there are a handful of teams, I'm sure, that are starting the season with zero optimism, as seems to be usually the case in Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball, this is like 3 years ago. Chances for the Orioles to win, 0.
0.0.
Wow.
Yeah.
You tweeted that out.
Yeah, really great way to engage a fan base. Hey, congratulations. It's opening day. Your team has zero chance.
What would you say to those fans? Hey, Cincinnati. Like,
where else you going?
Where else you going?
Yeah.
You want to have this conversation?
Yeah, right. All right, we're going to take a break. Happy Hour is on the way next in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Lots to unpack from our conversation just now with Ben Wagner and, of course, Armando Salguero, who stopped by in the 3 o'clock hour, talk about some of those new rule changes in the NFL. And also a name that Bills fans are familiar with will have a new team next year. We'll tell you a little bit more about where Trey White has landed and what he's going to get in 2024 and potentially beyond. That's all coming up in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Rams agreeing to terms of former Bills All-Pro corner Tre'Davious White.
I'm over at Epcot right now. I'm in line for test track.
Mike Danger.
Because everything has to sound like this, and I don't know that you really talk like this when you're actually having a conversation with somebody.
Gene Battaglia.
Keep something in mind. We don't know the true character about anyone.
I don't think Josh Allen's winning the Super Bowl, do you? I don't think he's winning one.
The baseball season truly gets going tomorrow with this huge gambling cloud hanging over Shohei Ohtani.
And Shohei has been ushered out of the clubhouse in handcuffs.
The Arizona Diamondbacks and lefty starter Jordan Montgomery won John Calipari.
Ice Cube confirmed that his Big Three basketball circuit has offered Caitlin Clark $5 million to play for them.
We are getting set for a little Sabres Senators tonight.
Sens?
Jack Quinn is looks like he's ready to go, so I would expect to see him in the lineup.
Amerks Crunch, starting at 7 tonight.
You dislike each other at such a high level.
Shrimp cocktail.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Welcome to Happy Hour in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. You've heard me talk about the guys in my neighborhood before, right?
No.
Oh.
No.
Let me introduce you to some of the guys in my neighborhood, because my secret Textoso line has been blowing up for the last hour or so. But there's Tony, there's Doug, there's Nikki G, there's Cuse, there's Tony, there's Joey Dryer Sheets, there's Tom, there's Mike, there's Tony, there's Timmy Parmesan, there's Tony, Richie C, Nikki Eye Drops, Tony, Rob the Takesman, Frank, Tony, Nikki Signs, Sammy the Bull, and
Tony Gazzetta. Have yet to
Tony.
meet. Yeah.
That Tony.
Yeah.
Richie C sent me this on the secret Textoso.
Oh, no.
Geez, Danger, your Caleb Williams Chicago rant is going to give you a heart attack. You should definitely check your blood pressure. Now, Richie C, this guy's my next door neighbor for years. We're family. You know me better than that. I have elite blood pressure right now. Resting heart rate, elite.
No. Don't be tempting fate or whatever. You live a healthy life. You do your dad runs. Yes, you indulge every once in a while, but
everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. I have not seen you that angry in a while. And this was, I didn't know you like the way.
Not angry. I'm fired up.
You're fired up.
I'm not angry.
Well, I had to take that it's a red flag that you have a quarterback that kind of does look at me stuff that Caleb Williams does. Okay. And you could say, hey, you be you. This is 2024, which that's fine. But when you're a quarterback, you can't really be look at me because so much of that is already coming.
Well, you also want a guy who has extreme confidence, can be an alpha, can show up and have everybody want to run through a wall for him. Now, I don't know that that's who he is right now. But I'm telling you, if he wins, his teammates will love him and the city will embrace him, and they won't care about the color of his phone or whether or not he's wearing lipstick or whatever they're doing.
Well, he hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything.
That's right.
Like, that is the city that loved Dennis Rodman because, you know what? He balled, and they won championships. They won big time. That's the biggest dynasty of our lifetime.
So who's the last Chicago professional athlete that had that kind of command? Not Rodman. I mean, you can think about those Bulls teams, and Jordan was obviously the guy.
The Cubs, really, when they won.
All you can really say is the Cubs, right? You could maybe say Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Javi.
Yeah, they were fun, but that wasn't the sport itself. And certainly the Blackhawks won a few cups, but the players are so robotic. They didn't have that charisma.
I think Kane and Taves are probably the last guys that you could say in that town, in that market, commanded it as superstar athletes, as superstars with their team. There hasn't been one with the Bears, and it wasn't Jay Cutler, and it wasn't anybody.
No, I would push back if Taves and Kane walked down the street of any other town that you wouldn't recognize.
No, I'm not talking about any other town. I'm just talking about Chicago.
Okay,
I'm just talking about in that. This is how hungry they are for a winner. That's how hungry the Chicago sports fan is for a winner.
Well, again, they've gone all in on Caleb Williams. This is going to look different there. It's going to be different if Caleb Williams is out there with pink fingernails and doing his thing.
Again, nobody's going to care.
No one will care if you're winning.
He's winning. Nobody will care. And if he shows up day one after they take him first overall, and he wears a wedding dress like Rodman did famously.
Look, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago. But you know what? They won. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it's the offseason. Do whatever you want, Dennis. Oh, that's Dennis being Dennis. And also, by the way, he wasn't the leader of that team. He wasn't. Caleb Williams is the leader. So that is a difference right there, Danger.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm watching film of this guy throw the ball 70 yards downfield on a rope, and that's all I'm focused on. If you can beat Green Bay in year one, I'll be happy. If you can have a winning record in year one, I'll be happy.
You could dress like Barbie.
I don't care. RuPaul could be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, but if you could beat Green Bay, I'm okay with it. I really don't care. All I care about is them winning games, them getting a championship. That's it. That's all I care about. So, yes, Richie C., I got a little fired up. I mean, look, we're still a month away from the draft. This hasn't even become official yet. And I've got no less than a half a dozen of my friends sending me the clip that you decided to bring up about an hour ago now here in the sports bar. So, yeah, I got a little fired.
This was like he's watching, he was at the basketball game, USC women, and yeah, he had his pink phone with like a pink purse thing with his pink polished nails.
Yeah.
And that it's different. Look, and don't go there, Gene. No, that's different, and I think we should discuss that. Like how will Middle America, and when I think Middle America, I think Chicago, buddy. Sorry.
No, I'm with you.
How will Middle America react to this?
They won't care as long as he says the right things and then does the right things on the field. If he shows up day one and they interview him, and this will be a red flag. Watch for this. And, hey, are you excited to go to Chicago? What's the first thing you're going to do when you go to Chicago? The way to answer that question is not, well, I'm really excited to get some deep dish pizza and, hang out at Wrigley Field and embrace the city and make it home and blah, blah, blah. No, all we want to hear is, I'm coming to win. We're coming to win.
I think coming to work. I'm ready to work. That would play too.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Yeah. We just want championships. That's it. That's where we're at now. That's all. Like, this is enough. Enough is enough. This is ridiculous. And I kind of like, low key, I kind of like what Ryan Poles has done this offseason to kind of at least give this guy the best chance he can at succeeding as early as he can.
Now, I asked the question to Armando Salguero, who, by the way, A+.
He's the best.
He is fantastic.
Love that guy.
Yeah, love that we have this relationship with Armando, who was at the NFL owners meetings. And I asked the question, are you surprised that the Bears traded Justin Fields and, at the time they did? And he's like, why are people surprised? Justin Fields had his opportunity. You had to move on. This was not a debate whatsoever. And I hear what he's saying. And then when you think about it, look, you got to go all in on Williams here.
If you have to imagine your quarterback being good, then he isn't that good. And that's what a large section of the Bears fan base was doing with Justin Fields. They had this vision in their head that, I just imagine what that guy could be if he had an offensive coordinator, an offensive-minded head coach. Imagine what Justin Fields got plenty of chances in Chicago to show up, to win games. He won 10 in his 3 years. It's not good enough. Ryan Poles didn't draft him. He doesn't owe him anything. I like what Ryan Poles is doing. He's charting his own course. If he makes he's made some mistakes. I think he would like to have the Chase Claypool trade back. That was a mistake, but he's got some wins under his belt. And if Caleb Williams isn't the dude, which I have a hard time believing that he won't be, but if he isn't the dude, then everybody's gone. Everybody's gone. If it goes horribly wrong in Caleb Williams' first year, then the Bears will do what they always do. They'll screw it up. They'll start over from scratch, and Caleb Williams will have to reboot with a new offensive coordinator and probably a new head coach and a new GM, and the whole thing will be a mess. But right now, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. It doesn't feel that way to me.
Armando Salguero was great. We also talked to Ben Wagner, who is now part of the Orioles broadcast team. And the Orioles are this fun, young team that was in the playoffs last year. In case you forgot, they lost to the Texas Rangers, who ended up winning the World Series. Boy, what's that going to be like tomorrow in Baltimore? Like that, we're talking about Shohei much of this week, and now let's turn our focus to the field. And here are the Orioles, one of these fun young teams that you have this terrible tragedy happening in Baltimore this week.
Yeah, brutal. The Key Bridge, and the images are terrifying. The video is terrifying. The ramifications are terrifying. I mean, that really kind of it alters so much of that region, so much of that city. So you've got now a unifier for opening day tomorrow at Camden with the Angels coming to town.
By the way, the new owner got approved today.
Yeah, and that's big as well. I mean, if I have a complaint about opening day tomorrow, it's that we've already got 2 postponements tomorrow. It's like, can Major League Baseball finally just look at the calendar, look at the schedule, and say, you know what, weather in the Northeast, little dicey end of March through the middle of May. The Midwest, kind of the same thing. Cleveland, Chicago, certainly Minneapolis. Can we schedule more games down south? Can we, work with teams that have the indoor stadiums, the indoor?
Yeah, so sure. There are some teams that are opening at home. For instance, Houston opening at home against the Yankees. That'll be 4:10 tomorrow. You have San Diego, the Dodgers opening at home. But then explain to me why, or one of those games that is rained out tomorrow, the Mets. Danger, tomorrow's going to be the ultimate day for me.
Sports nirvana.
Mets baseball. RIT NCAA tournament. Oh, and then we're going to top it off with the NCAA tournament. Oh, my gosh, the basketball. No, there's no Met game tomorrow because it's rained out. They're playing the Brewers. Oh, the Brewers have a dome.
Yeah.
The Toronto Blue Jays open up on the road. They have a dome.
Yeah, they're playing in Tampa.
What are we doing?
Have another team that doesn't have a dome play in Tampa. Have another team play in Toronto. Have Milwaukee start a couple of series at home because they can.
Philadelphia hosting Atlanta. Shouldn't that be in reverse there?
Thank you. Yes, that's all I'm calling for. I mean, I take a shorter season, but I know that that's not happening because that would cost too much money. The league would lose too much money. And baseball writer, I mean, that would just ruin the record books and the sanctity of the game. We can't have that.
Baseball writer would be upset if you cut it from 162.
You want to talk about high blood pressure? I mean, the baseball writer just keel right over. No! Is baseball right? Hey, baseball writer! Tomorrow's a big day. Welcome back into the sports bar.
I'm quite disappointed. You're talking about football and you're talking about this little hockey tournament or whatever it is. You should be talking about baseball because if there's one, have you ever seen Field of Dreams? The speech. There's one constant in our country.
It's baseball.
It's baseball. It's the fabric of America. And the fact that this tragedy happened in Baltimore. Do you know I grew up a fan of the St. Louis Browns, Mike Danger? You don't even know who the St. Louis Browns are.
I don't. Did they really exist? Was there really a St. Louis Browns?
No, that was the team before the Baltimore Orioles.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So I guess I should probably look that up on the internet. I believe everything I read on the internet, so I'll check that out, baseball writer.
But I will agree with you on one thing.
Tell me.
Baseball in March, no. The expanded playoffs are a terrible thing. It should just be one team in the American League against one team in the National League. Do you know what a pennant race is? Yeah. All these expanded playoffs and everything, all for money.
Yeah, you came down from Mount Pius to share some takes with us, baseball writer, today. I appreciate that. I know tomorrow's a big day. I know you're excited. You're wearing your costume for opening day tomorrow. Are you going to be covering the game wearing full uniform? What's your take?
No, I only do that at the Genesee Country Village and Museum every year for their Silver Ball. Yes.
Oh, very good, very good.
And then look, the first time you're not. Every time I come in here, you're playing Bruce. I don't like Bruce Springsteen.
I'm pretty sure it's unanimous. If you're a writer for baseball, you like Bruce Springsteen. I'm fairly certain there isn't a baseball writer alive that doesn't like the boss. You're all Bruce Springsteen. You all want to torture yourself. You're so used to watching 3+ hours of baseball on any given night that watching Bruce Springsteen slide across a stage for a 4-hour set is like nothing to you. It's too long. It's too much baseball.
He's inaccurate. The song Glory Days, you could throw that speedball right. Who calls it a speedball?
Yeah, you're right. That's improper. Yeah. Baseball writer. Opening day tomorrow. But not for the Mets, not for the Phillies, because we have to postpone those games due to the weather. Yeah, let's move. Let's get a little bit better with the scheduling. And I'm not saying that I want to see more games overseas at the start of the season either. I know that they're going to do Japan next year.
No, they'll do look, this is the way of the world. The Sabres are going to open the season over in Prague next year. So,
speaking of the S word.
Oh, I brought it up.
You did.
They're home tonight.
Ottawa's the opponent. You can hear it on CMF. Tonight we'll have Amerks hockey for you. This is a big one for Rochester as they travel to Syracuse, take on the Crunch. We had Amerks head coach Seth Appert in with us in studio yesterday, reminding us that when you play a team as often as the Amerks have played Syracuse, there's really nothing that you can hide.
There's little adjustments that are important. But against Syracuse and Utica, when you play each other 12 times, you know each other so intimately. You dislike each other at such a high level that there isn't a lot of secrets there. It's just a matter of who's going to will their way to victory.
Moss Brooks has the call tonight just after 7 o'clock from Syracuse.
Yeah, and by the way, since I'm a snob when it comes to that stuff, Moss Brooks is good. He's going to give a good call tonight. Don will be on the call in Cleveland coming up as the Nighthawks will be home Saturday night. One quick RIT note here, Danger, and this was Kevin Roche pointing this out. The Tigers are big underdogs tomorrow. We can't bet on this. It blows my mind that people will actually across the country might be wagering on RIT hockey, but you can't bet on it in New York State. But I bring this up because the Tigers, as the 15 seed overall, they're playing the number 2 seed overall, Boston University. Boston University with 13 NHL players on their team. And that does not count the presumptive number 1 overall pick. So literally, it's a team loaded with talent against your little RIT Tigers. The Boston University head coach today gets up there, was asked about RIT, and says, we haven't looked at any film. Wow.
Kind of like the arrogance.
Put that in the context of any other sport. Like, compare that to Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott, you're playing the Carolina. Wow, we looked at them. They're really dangerous. We don't care.
Even if he's lying about his opponent, saying, even if Sean McDermott is lying, saying we looked at it, and he didn't, it's okay. He's still telling you, no, we really spent a lot of time. Every opponent is important.
This is hockey.
Yeah.
You can win. It's only one game. This is not a best of 7. One game. You can win one game. This is a gift to head coach Wayne Wilson. It really is. Like, you just play some of the clips there. Well, the Rochester Tigers, and pointing out the age. Wayne Wilson yesterday saying, hey, maybe talk about our great goaltender. Why we have one of the best penalty kills in the nation. This is not the little mom and pop 16 seed here, Wagner basketball. This is an RIT team that's nationally ranked. And you are playing a team where the head coach said, we didn't watch film. Here's a newsflash. I'll tell you right now, coach, number 10 Casero, watch him at the point, okay? He's like Ovechkin. I will laugh and laugh and laugh if they don't pick up on that tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I know. I'm fired up. You're fired up about the Caleb Williams thing.
No.
Tomorrow, 5 o'clock for this game.
Yeah, we're hitting a fever pitch here. I mean, tomorrow is my last day before I take a little break there for spring break. And I have a feeling that by the time we get to 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be nice.
We didn't watch film. Are you effing kidding me?
Yeah, that's great.
How disrespectful.
It's great. I mean, if you're RIT, you have everything you need. You have all the ammunition in the world to just show up and kick their ass, because nobody's expecting you to. They don't even know your name. They don't even know your name. They're not watching film. They haven't broken you down. They're going in with this arrogance that we have all this talent, all of these future NHL players, the presumptive number 1 overall pick. We're that good that we don't need to watch film. I'm telling you, you're right, Wayne Wilson. You have a gift. You can just get your team so fired up. Hopefully not to the point where they're committing stupid penalties or it gets violent, but the age and the maturity is something that you do have over a young BU team. Yes, they have talent. You have maturity, and you could probably rattle some cages, and this is the kind of fuel that you throw on the fire before the game to get these. It wouldn't shock me if at minimum they keep it tight early. And then I think if you do that, if you survive the first period, if you survive any sort of, offensive rush from Boston and keep it tight, you steal a couple of goals.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and this is the other part when we talked about this, the fact that you have the number 2 team in the country not playing in their home state, going all the way out to South Dakota, so their fans aren't going. And I know a few RIT fans are going to make it out there, but I don't get the sense that it's going to be a packed barn, or if it is, it's just going to be people, I don't know, dare I say, that might be pulling for the underdog. Is that generally what happens?
Yeah, and look, South Dakota is not much of a hockey. Sioux Falls is not much of a hockey market. At least it's not like it is in Minnesota or at the University of North Dakota. But they'll probably have a lot of locals there checking it out because that's a big deal for them. Oh, we're hosting this. Yeah, let's all go out to the arena and check it out. I can't wait. I know you can't wait. Tomorrow, Kevin Roche, you just mentioned from the RIT Sports Network, will be stopping by. Our buddy Kevin Roche from Friday Night Rivals as well will be joining us tomorrow afternoon at 3:25, and we'll talk a little RIT men's hockey.
Yeah, he's going to have his West Side jokes, everything else. You ready for that?
Oh, he wants to come into the sports bar. He doesn't realize that I'm actually an East Sider. I'm not a West Sider. I'm East Hilton.
Oh.
East Hilton, Kevin.
You're in North Grilton, I
thought.
No.
You could. I mean, I know people will say North Greece, and that's fine.
How did I walk right into that joke?
I am a resident of East Hilton. I am an East Sider. Okay, let's not get it confused. Yeah, Kevin stops by tomorrow, and also tomorrow. He's been busy this week, and I'm glad we've got him on the day where the Sweet 16 gets underway. The host of BetQL's Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, PJ Glasser, gives us his picks, and he's been on fire through the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. But more importantly, let's talk about what's really important with PJ. And we were talking with Wagner about it last hour. We've got our Final Four in the Baltimore accent bracket.
Ooh, I think it's funny, too. Like we can introduce PJ to Ben Wagner. I'm sure the two haven't met there. 2 Baltimore media types there. Ben new to town. Like PJ probably not in those baseball circles. Like, hey, you guys should like the idea that we could rattle off.
He'll be paying attention to the O's.
Yeah.
PJ will be paying attention to that's his team. He'll be paying attention to him. So yeah, Ben and PJ, we got to get PJ to work Ben over on the Baltimore accent. I think it just ingratiates him with the audience that much faster. So yeah, we're going to crown a champion, the Final Four in the Baltimore accent bracket tomorrow.
Okay, see if I can remember this. I know the baseball one. If I had to pick, I think the baseball name is going to win because it's a name that those are the best guys that you've forgotten about. But when you hear the name, like, oh my gosh, that guy,
Placido Polanco,
winner.
You think so?
You have the double O there.
I know that PJ may be partial to Baltimore legend Joe Flacco. He's also been in the news, this NBA star, for your New York Knickerbockers. Historic night the other night. Dante DiVincenzo. Home. And then the winner of our at-large region. This is the dark horse. And I'm a little bit nervous that this guy could pull off an upset. Surprise everybody. Shock the world. Like he did when he was an Olympian speed skater by the name of Apollo Anton Ono. Home.
That got PJ to laugh. So if I had to rank right now, I would say Ono number 1, Flacco because of the connection number 2, Placido Polanco, DiVincenzo, no chance. DiVincenzo, you're just happy to be there. Yeah.
You think so?
I think so.
Do we reseed? Because if I look back, Polanco was a 5, Flacco was a 2, DiVincenzo was a 5, and Ono was a 5. Wow, we got 3 5s and a 2. We can't really reseed, right?
No.
All right, so we'll just go Polanco, Flacco, DiVincenzo, Ono. That'll be our Final Four.
Okay, so then the question is, though, do you go with the name that would make you laugh, Placido Polanco, over the gold standard in Joe Flacco?
That's why it's a good matchup.
Yeah,
that's why it's a good matchup. Yeah, this will be good. We'll crown a Baltimore accent bracket champion with PJ Glasser and get some winners for the Sweet 16. That's tomorrow at 4:25 here in the sports bar. Just ridiculous. Trying to get a professional like Ben Wagner to pick up a Baltimore accent and start mispronouncing names just to ingratiate himself with the locals.
He's probably like, why didn't I come on the show in Rochester today? What am I
he's a good sport, man. I love that. That guy is great. Let's take a break, and we'll come back with a round of shots next.
Yeah, one thing we haven't talked about, Shohei. What's going on here? Well, Tisha Thompson, ESPN, has kind of an update here as to where things are standing here. Also, we'll set you up here for, of course, opening day tomorrow. There was one big name that came off the board yesterday. We have a decision coming out of Kentucky and some numbers here, too, from college basketball we can go over.
You can say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel Sportsbook lets you bet on every game of the tournament, whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. I'm Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, if you're a new customer, you get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow afternoon with BetQL's PJ Glasser. He'll give you some winners for this weekend's action, and then you can decide how you're going to want to use that $200 in bonus bets that you score. You could use it on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike. Bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar. Thanks for checking us out in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Appreciate you listening locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. And also, if you're watching the Sports Bar on the stream, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, if you will. Also, streaming at The Fan Rochester on Twitch. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia. Round of shots.
Yeah, as Danger, we're not going to hear from Shohei Ohtani again this season, right? ESPN's Tisha Thompson has been at the front of the reporting on this story, and when reaching out to Ohtani's representation, they are no longer commenting.
Okay. Shocking.
But Thompson did dig this nugget up. Joining the investigation, the Department of Homeland Security. In a statement given to ESPN, the Department of Security Investigations Los Angeles and IRS Criminal Investigations Los Angeles Field Office conducting a joint federal investigation into the matter. Now, whether this is about the interpreter, whether it's about Ohtani, whether it's about a wider scope, not exactly sure.
Thompson's good. We had her on with us years ago. She did that whole investigative piece on the U of R football team.
Right, that the two players were taken hostage, basically, and how the school covered it up.
We don't talk about any. U of R may as well just be its own country.
It's like it's separate from the rest
it
of our
really
community.
is.
Yeah,
it's
really
bizarre.
Yeah.
And that story, I remember her sharing some of the chilling details of that story and thinking that couldn't happen here. That can't happen here. That doesn't feel like something that would happen at U of R. It doesn't feel like something that would happen in our community, but it happened, and it's terrifying. So I trust her reporting, and if she's unearthing things, I'm going to take it as like credible.
Yeah, and this isn't the local yokel DA looking to make a name. This is the feds.
Yeah.
You're talking Homeland Security and the IRS. We're like, hey, why is all this money moving here? Yeah.
Right.
So they could, like, literally, maybe Shohei didn't know anything about it, but is that tax evasion?
Well, but pleading ignorance isn't going to prevent him from. You're still
that's not a defense.
You still broke a crime. It doesn't matter that you're a global, iconic superstar that can't speak the language. You broke the law, dude, and there are going to be consequences.
Many Yankee fans are hoping the team would bring back pitcher Jordan Montgomery. Pitching after pitching against Arizona in the World Series with Texas, now Montgomery joining Arizona on the eve of the baseball season. In reality, is this a one-year deal for $25 million with a player option for next season? Scott Boras, that's one of the storylines. His clients, whether it was Blake Snell or Cody Bellinger, the idea of sit and wait and the money would come. Guess what? It didn't come. And my theory on this is because there's so much young talent. Okay, you know what? We're like money teams are like we're going to be fine here without Jordan Montgomery.
I'm curious, Gino. What do you think that does for Arizona's chances out west in the National League?
I think it's kind of the same. I think they were fortunate to get into the postseason last year. I know they got some young talent there, but honestly, I think they're fourth in that division.
They're a lot of fun, man. That's a fun team.
It's fun, but the Dodgers are still the class.
Oh, no question.
The Giants did some nice things, and
Sure.
the Padres will bounce back. Colorado's a disaster.
Colorado's a mess. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
But there's something about Arizona. I'm not saying that they're gonna keep it close with the Dodgers, but I'd be paying attention if I'm the Dodgers. Like that's the one more so than the Giants, I think. But I like the young talent that they have. They're a fun team. And now the addition of Montgomery, I think, just pushes them up a little bit of a notch. It almost, to me, feels like if they were just lucky to get into the postseason last year, this year it'll be more emphatic.
There are 12 games in the NBA tonight. ESPN has the doubleheader with the Clippers and the Nuggets. That's going to be that's actually Philadelphia. Clippers in Philadelphia, followed by Phoenix and Denver. Also tonight, the Knicks are in Toronto. In a move that should...
Hold on a second. Just need to interrupt you, Gene, and remind everybody that Daryl Morey is a liar. I'm going to repeat myself. Daryl Morey is a liar.
How did I miss that?
This is the return. James Harden's first return to Philadelphia since proclaiming that Daryl Morey is a liar and I will never play for Daryl Morey again. And he never played for Daryl Morey again. I mean, Morey might be a liar, but Harden is now a Clipper, and he has to go back and face the music. I wonder if we see vintage Harden playing with a chip on his shoulder returning to Philadelphia. Like, is tonight the night that Harden goes for a triple-double?
Clippers at 44-27. It's in fourth place right now in the West. So you're avoiding the play-in round. Philadelphia, like we expected without Embiid, they have dropped. They're down to eighth now in the conference. So, yeah, wouldn't that be so? I don't think Philadelphia is going to fall out altogether, but...
Well, I'm sure Sixer fan will give him I'm sure the tribute video will be touching. It'll be moving. Like, that's what I'm talking about, by the way. Like, no more tribute videos for the guy. Like, no tribute videos.
You're kidding me. They're going to get... No, they should not get a tribute
No, they
video.
won't.
No,
they won't. That's my point, is that the teams that do that, that's just so soft. It's so soft. But they're definitely not going to do one for Harden.
The move that should not surprise anyone from college basketball. Rather than pay out $35 million for the buyout, the Kentucky AD announcing that head coach John Calipari is indeed coming back next season. The Wildcats. Well, they're coming off a loss to a 14 seed in Oakland. It was 2 years ago they got tripped up against a 15 seed in St. Peter's. Calipari has just won one national championship, 2012. And by the way, last time they reached a Final Four, Danger, we weren't even on the air back then, 2015.
Yeah, I suppose there's a case to be made that John Calipari is overrated. I would listen to that, but I mean, none of us should be surprised that he's returning to the University of Kentucky, even though he suffered a tough loss to a 15 seed. You want to know why he's back at Kentucky, Gino? 'Cause he's Italian!
I think that maybe next year you got to at least win one game in the tournament. Can we start there?
Yeah, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but he's probably coming back regardless. Either way, he's going to come back. Why? Because he's Italian, Gino.
The thing that I find disappointing with Kentucky basketball is this. Like, every year when the tournament would come around, they pan over the fans. There was Ashley.
I know.
Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
Is Ashley Judd going to the games anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Like,
who else do they have? Any other famous University of Kentucky alum? Is Ashley Judd still considered famous?
In my world, yes. I don't know about you, Danger. So
I don't know. What was the last thing Ashley Judd was in? I only remember her from Heat. Remember the movie Heat?
Was that the one with
Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer? Heat. You didn't. Come on.
No.
You never saw Heat.
No. There was like
Add
another
it to the list.
Another Heat movie with
Heat was this is an older movie, but Pacino and De Niro in the same movie. Lots of heists. And Ashley Judd playing the
I'm thinking of The Heat with Sandra Bullock. That's
that's not the same.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you're not. There is no list, but you got to add Heat to the list, Gino, if you've never seen it.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
No surprise, Saturday saw a record number for women's college basketball. Iowa's opening game in the NCAA tournament drew an average of 3.23 million viewers on ABC. Going to head-to-head against the men's tournament was Gonzaga, Kansas, which brought in 8.28 million viewers, which, look, still ways to go. Iowa playing Colorado this Saturday. That's going to be 3:30 on ABC. That game, by the way, in Albany. And if you're thinking, hey, that's only 3 hours away, let's go see Caitlin Clark. Right now, the get-in price, $191.
Yeah, that feels right. If you want to see somebody who embodies greatness in that sport, then that's a worthy investment. Go see it. You're never going to see her this close playing for Iowa ever again. And when she's in the WNBA, when are you going to see her? When? Never.
Yeah.
So why not? If you have the means, that's a worthy investment. But the ratings don't surprise me. I'm sorry, man. I mean, look, this isn't a knock on the women's game. It's not a knock on Caitlin Clark. One product is superior to the other. That's it. I want to see shots made. I want to see action. It's the women's tournament is going to be more exciting down the stretch here, but up to this point, it's been relatively chalk, and every year it feels like it's relatively chalk. You don't have the same kind of upsets that you have in the men's tournament. It's just a better product. So the ratings, of course, are going to be higher.
finally here, and maybe your hometown bias would be showing here. You brought this up yesterday. Greenberg on Get Up.
This guy.
Saying UConn, not only would they win games in the NBA, they would be a playoff team. Now listen to this, and then you tell me he's being serious here.
What has been the most impressive team in the tournament so far?
UConn. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
They are a freight train. That's the way they beat you. They out-execute you. But their attention to detail and how they're coached makes them the best team in the country.
Yeah, they would make the playoffs in the NBA's Eastern Conference. That's how good they are.
That far.
Okay, is that a joke or is he being serious?
Here's the thing. I just think that now has become such an easy thing to say, whether you're talking about the best college football team versus the worst NFL team. Like, stop comparing college athletics to professional athletics. They're not the same. You know what UConn would do in the NBA playoffs? They would get the floor cleaned with them. It doesn't matter what team you're talking about. They would get killed.
Well, Greenberg has done a 180 here. He's gone to the, what, you couldn't tell I was kidding? Today saying they'd probably go 0-82. To which I'd say, probably?
Yeah, it's fine. If he's saying it was a joke and it was tongue-in-cheek, fine. But it just becomes like this thing now where the casual fan actually starts to believe, I love Alabama football, and Alabama's so good this year that if Alabama played the Carolina Panthers, I think Alabama would beat the Carolina Panthers. Stop. Stop it. They would not. They would not. It's just a little grating. But I'm glad he did a 180 and at least clarified for everybody that he wasn't being serious. But in the moment, maybe he had like a little shred of seriousness to saying it just because it popped in his head. Like, oh, yeah, they could probably beat the Raptors. Nope, not happening. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with last call at 866-4326. If you want to pull up a stool and join us, 585-866-4FAN is the number.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
You can get the Sports Bar wherever you pod. Just search out the Sports Bar in the free to download Odyssey app, AUDACY. You'll also find the Sports Bar on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Look for us, find us, like, subscribe. You get all of our guest appearances and shows. The Sports Bar, just search us out. It's last call at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
Yeah, as tonight you're going to have some NIT action. That's really a Francesa at this point. The only thing about the NIT...
Not for me, it's not, pal.
Oh, no.
Oh, who cares?
No, I do. Me, Mike Danger.
What are you playing tonight?
Seton Hall, a couple of alternate spreads. Seton Hall, -1.5, and VCU +13. A little parlay there. Little parlay.
Tomorrow night, Clemson, Arizona, UConn, San Diego State, North Carolina, Alabama, Iowa State, Illinois.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm looking, who's the Cinderella left here?
What do you think about, I mean, this is a rematch here with San Diego State and UConn.
Yeah, that's, no, UConn's
going to wipe the floor with them, right?
Exactly.
I
think North Carolina will beat Alabama.
Who's Illinois got?
Illinois got Iowa State. Now, I had Iowa State going to the final just because I'm doing my KenPom thing, and they're good across the board. But what Iowa State does is they will slow this down.
Yep.
So I don't even know what the spread would be if you're looking for that. But I would say this, that if that will be a close game as well. Clemson, Arizona, I don't have a beat on. I didn't think Clemson would be here.
I think Arizona wins that one. I like Arizona.
But the fun fact is, like, when was the last time we had a national champion from, as it's been pointed out? Like,
Lute Olson.
Yeah, exactly. Long time ago.
97?
West of Mississippi, 90. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was Arizona. It was Lute Olson.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
It's not like college basketball isn't big west of the Mississippi. It is. It's a big deal. But you can't get a champion from west of the Mississippi?
Is it because they don't schedule teams from the SEC and
That's
the Big Ten?
Interesting.
Who knows with the Big Ten now, with everything being expanded, how that'll affect things.
Well, here's what we can tell you. Tomorrow, with those matchups, we'll bring in our guy to help determine who's winning what. All right, he is the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, PJ Glasser. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. You can check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ stops by tomorrow afternoon at 4:25. We'll get winners for all the Sweet 16 matchups, and we'll also get a winner in our Baltimore accent bracket as we are down to our final four.
That will be outstanding. 5 o'clock hour tomorrow, full-on distraction with RIT playing.
Gino, is it going to be hard for you to not do play-by-play? Can we get you to do play-by-play while the game is on?
I think that would be illegal.
You can't just do play-by-play?
No, I don't
what's happening?
No, I think that would get us in trouble.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you what happened on a little bit of a delay.
Maybe not play-by-play, but yeah. I mean, that's in your blood. That's going to be a hard thing. Like when you're watching it, do you want to go into play-by-play mode?
Oh, absolutely.
In your head, are you doing the play-by-play?
Yeah,
even though you're not?
Absolutely. And when I get home, if it's a close game, I might just do it to settle myself down.
I love it. That's great. That's tomorrow, 5 o'clock, RIT in Sioux Falls to take on BU. And tomorrow afternoon at 3:25 from the RIT Sports Network, our buddy Kevin Roche stops by. So we'll talk some RIT men's hockey with Kevin, and we will take all of his jabs about both Gino and I being West Siders, even though I'm an East Sider, technically East Hilton. You can't make fun of me. I can't take it from Kevin Roche.
No.
Not happening.
Amerks tonight. Go get the 2 points in Syracuse.
Yeah, that would be big. Amerks tonight here on your proud home of Amerks hockey. Andrew Mossbrooks on the call. That's just after 7 o'clock as the team is in Syracuse to take on the Crunch. And the S word tonight at home, KeyBank. They've got Ottawa in town. The return of Jack Quinn, which is, that's something. So you can hear that tonight on CMF, and we will be back tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock to break it all down. JR Sport Brief on the way next. Thanks for listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.